asato ma sadgamaya tamaso ma jyotirgamaya mrityorma amritangamaya. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om, lead us from the unreal to the real. Lead us from darkness to light. Lead us from death to immortality. Om, peace, peace, peace. The subject of my talk today is Sri Ramakrishna, the latest incarnation. We celebrated Sri Ramakrishna's birthday yesterday. And today I thought it will be appropriate to talk about him. The word incarnation, as you know, means that taking body, that means taking the body in a flesh and blood. That is the concept of incarnation. Incarnation. That is the concept of incarnation. And it is a translation of one Sanskrit word which is known as avatar. Avatar, as you know, it is a famous word by this time because of James Cameron's what is called, shall I tell it, great or very well known movie. And I understand that is a movie which has earned billions of dollars. So you can say taking refuge in Avatar, you can earn a substantial amount of money also. The name itself, that means you don't have to take refuge in him, but just taking using the name itself actually brings so much money. Now the concept of avatar is like this, that we do spiritual practices, and through spiritual practices, they say through the concentration of mind, we can bring ourselves to a certain level of consciousness. That consciousness is ultimate consciousness which is there, and we call it samadhi. That means it is the supreme consciousness where we feel oneness with everything, or we enjoy bliss, or we become very knowledgeable, or knowledge itself. All those things are written in the books and scriptures. But there is a category of persons that we see who have come, historically they have come on earth, and they are really very special. They did spiritual practice, but they are not like us. How are they? They are like this, that as if they brought the knowledge from outside. That means when they are born, the knowledge was with them, as if they were an embodiment of that knowledge, and in that way they came. So these type of persons are called avatar or incarnations. If we go through the scriptures, we will find that there are categories of spiritual attainments, or types of persons who have attained spiritual knowledge. They have categorized in this way: incarnations. Then there is another category who may be called apostles, or what is called, in our language, they are called Ishwarkotis. Then there is another type of persons who are called Jivakotis. And there are other persons who are really seekers. That means in the spiritual realm. Of course, there are other persons in multitude, but amongst the seekers, those who are really, whose business is spirituality, you will find this is sort of categorization. Categorization, in a sense, that means we need to know who is what, or where is my position. All those things need to be known. So in that way, those who are in the field of the spirituality, they do classify in this way. So who are they? We are seekers. Seekers, in a sense, that means who have a little knowledge or taste for the spiritual knowledge, attainment. We like spirituality, and in that way do spiritual practices by our predecessors. That means those who have attained to spirituality, they say that if you are interested, follow these disciplines, and you will also have this type of experiences, which we like. That is why we follow. It is a voluntary thing. It is not really forced thing. Forced thing means, that means religion has two aspects. That means forced. That means some rituals and scriptures and all those things. If you follow, then you will get this, and all those things are really forced. But for the individuals, actually, it is something which is voluntary. If you want to experience something, then actually you follow something. So in that way, these seekers are called devotees. And devotees can definitely progress in spirituality, and ultimately, if they can have the highest spiritual knowledge, they will be, seekers will become jivakotis. Seekers actually practice and then they become jivakotis. That means somehow or other they can have the highest knowledge or reach the goal. They will be called jivakotis. And jivakotis actually, they are ordinary persons, and by practice they have attained to what is called the great level of spirituality. So ordinary person's level or the goal is that. And then jivakoti, other than jivakoti, there is another category who are called ishwarkotis. They also do spiritual practice just like a seeker. They also become jivakotis. That means they have the highest realization. But still they live for a long time to disseminate spiritual knowledge for the humanity. Jivakoti, that means those who have practiced spirituality individually, and for them, sometimes the end, they do not have any, the purpose of the life is served, so naturally they may not like to live long, or they may not share also. They may become dumb, that means probably they are enjoying their own experiences within themselves. All those things may happen. But ishwarkotis are really assigned persons, that means as if they have come with a mission to help in the dissemination of spiritual knowledge. They actually start from the very beginning, that means seeker, then jivakoti, and then ishwarkoti, by seeing their life and teachings and also what is called their spiritual attainments, all those things we can really categorize in that way. Then comes the fourth category, which are called avatars. In no way actually you can figure out actually how avatars are really, how they are like that. That means their spirituality is so supreme that there is no way that you can explain them. Because they, of course, they start a little bit practice, but their practice is so little that for ordinary persons it will not really work to have that attainment. So as if they, for the sake of teaching, they do little spiritual practice and they become what is called attain things, and they become what is called they preach, and ultimately their preaching is so effective that that remain forever. Forever in a sense that since for centuries or millenniums their teachings remain alive. Alive in a sense that means I can teach something, but my teaching will be probably within a month it will be finished. But their teaching remains for millenniums. That means when people listen to them or when they follow them, still they actually attain to spiritual knowledge. That means spiritual realization. So in that way, their life and teachings are forever. So they are called avatars. Incarnations. And these type of persons are very few. And according to Christianity, Jesus Christ, Son of God, and in that way, in our language, it will be called, he is an incarnation of God, avatar, because he is definitely, we came, say, 2000 years ago, so naturally, and we see that that effect is still there, though it is an established religion in many places, but still individually, if somebody practices spirituality according to the teachings of Jesus Christ, definitely they will have the highest realization. There is no doubt about that. And Sri Ramakrishna actually did that. Just a few hundred years ago, you can see that he himself had the vision of Jesus Christ. So that shows that this type of persons remain forever. That means they remain eternal. And in case of, in India, we see that occasionally there are some persons who have come in that way. And they attend to spirituality and they preached. And in that way they have a large following. And that following is still going on. And in that way, the reason is that they are finding benefit of the teachings of those persons. By thinking of them, actually, they are getting what is called spiritual benefit. So that is the greatest benefit that we can get, or that incarnations actually live for us. So they are called incarnations. That means this type of persons whose teachings and influence in spiritual field, probably Jesus Christ's teachings in the economic field or social field and other places may not be that valuable even in the present age, but his spiritual teachings will be there forever. In the same way, in our country, that means in India, we have Lord Krishna, Lord Rama, Buddha we also consider, and my subject is today about Ramakrishna, how actually we can really compare or place him inside this group of people, a group of spiritual personalities, that means who are called incarnations of God. Sri Ramakrishna, as you know, we always talk here about Sri Ramakrishna because we belong to the Sri Ramakrishna's group. We are followers of Sri Ramakrishna, so naturally we always talk about him. So he was born as a simple boy, that means in a remote village. There is no sign. Actually, the signs that are written in the books actually was dug later on and they are found. And in that way, actually, we can figure out that yes, something was there special. So in that way, that something special probably can be found in some other person's life also. But it will not hold for a long time. That is the situation. But Sri Ramakrishna was born as an ordinary person in an ordinary parents' family. And from the childhood, actually, we see he had a little inclination for spirituality. But otherwise, he was just an ordinary person. That means ordinary boy. He used to play with children. But somehow or other, he did not have much attention. He did not give much attention to studies. That we see that is mentioned. But because his family profession was priesthood, so he learned that and wanted to be a priest, or the family actually asked him to become a priest because naturally you will have to, after growing up, you will have to have a family, so some income is necessary. Priesthood brings money, so that is the easy way of earning money. So he learned that. And in that way, he became a priest in a famous temple in Calcutta. And there actually, many priests are there before him, after him also, in that Kali temple even, you can see. But he was a very peculiar priest. Somehow or other it entered into his mind that, well, I am worshipping God in this image. That whatever traditionally he knew that there are many ways or many gods and goddesses or representation of gods and goddesses, and he had the opportunity of worshipping God in one form. So he had that question in his mind. Well, many people say that somebody had the vision of God. That means the image that I am seeing, it is just an image of clay or stone, and it is not in flesh and blood or something like that. But some people say that they have seen or they have perceived, they have the, what is called the great fortune of having the lively encounter with these gods and goddesses. So it didn't enter into his mind. So naturally, they, as I told you, that somebody if he wants to have some spiritual experiences, naturally they will follow. If somebody had some spiritual, what he did, so in that way actually he started following those teachings. And of course, he had some teachers also. That means teachers are necessary, or they assume that they are very knowledgeable about these lives and teachings and all those things. So in that way, it is helpful to have a teacher. As you know, we can learn things by ourselves. That is, self-help books are there, or self-help videos are there. In that way, you can do that. But in spirituality, actually, it is so intricate that it is better to have somebody who has some knowledge on the subject and who has done little spiritual practice himself. So he had the opportunity of having these teachers in his life, and you see that by following them and also by knowing the lives of these spiritual personalities who were predecessors, actually he started doing intense spiritual practice. Intense spiritual practice in a sense that he was following a path of devotion, which is very common, very easy, and that he knew also because he was a priest himself. Priests are mostly in the devotional path. So in that way, he intensified, and ultimately we see that he had the vision of Mother Kali, whom actually he worshipped. And all those things happened to him very quickly. Quickly in a sense that means for ages people are doing. But for him it so happened that he himself was really surprised actually that these things happened to him. Then being successful, he was interested in seeing whether there are different ways of seeing God or different ways of practicing what is called reaching God. So in that way he practiced different paths. And there also he was, surprisingly, he had great success. And not only that, later on we see that in Calcutta, that was a cosmopolitan city. Had he been in village, probably he did not have that much exposure. But where, because he was in Calcutta, he had the opportunity of seeing or listening or finding people who are following different paths of a religion, Christianity, Islam, Buddhism, in that way. So he also became curious about those paths, and in that way he practiced, and there also he became very successful. So that was a unique thing. Unique in a sense that if you read the lives of other incarnations, that means great spiritual person whose legacy is still alive and continuing, you will see that their lives or their practices or their teachings actually is not that much universal in nature. Universalness, that means all encompassing, in that they are not like that. Maybe that they might have said that yes, this type of practice if you do, and you will reach God and have the high spiritual experience, and you will what is called come to me, all those type of things are there, teachings are there. But any path, that means their paths and other branches, if you call it, other spiritual persons' paths that are there, they are not really practiced by one person, and they did not say in that way also. That is one of the, from our point of view, from the point of view of this age, if you call it, actually a little bit difficult situation that they have created or they have left. The reason is that in those days communications were very poor. That means people did not know, probably Jesus Christ did not know that there are so many ways of doing spiritual practices, or Buddha probably did not know about what is there in the, what is called in Europe or Africa or some other places. That is evident, that is quite understandable. But because of the advancement of communication, we see that everything became just very easily available, and that required a little bit of what is called effort to understand all those things. And it fell to Sri Ramakrishna. It is not like this that he had what is called, he did these things just to reconcile everything. It is not like that. It's curiosity, because things came to him. So he was curious, and in that way actually he found out those truths through different paths. So now actually his position is really very unique. Because previously nobody has actually taught spirituality in that way. Nobody said, of course there was no opportunity also. Rama did not have the opportunity of saying that, well, Christians are reaching the same goal, or Islam also reaching the same, because those religions were not available. That means they are not born even at that time. Krishna's time also was there, Buddha's time was also like that. Their world was very small. So in Sri Ramakrishna's case actually these things needed to be sorted out, and he had the unique opportunity, not by intellect, by instinct actually he did that, and that was probably the mission that was necessary for, we call it, that is called, for in our age that came to us. So in that way we see that the teachings that he has left are very important for us in this age, and not only that, they are so unique that for a long time it will be useful. So when Sri Ramakrishna was born, probably a few intellectuals or religious seekers probably appreciated that. Even when Swami Vivekananda came to this country, people actually did not appreciate, most of the people did not understand and appreciate him, but a very few actually understood the message that he had brought here. So Swami Vivekananda was his disciple, and he came to this country to represent Hinduism in the Parliament of Religion. That was a unique situation because that is the first time that a platform was created where all religions could come together or say something about themselves. In that way, that opportunity came. That shows that things were really growing slowly. So in that way, we see that his message came and people started appreciating that. And appreciation, as you know, even today we see that people have so much in many places actually. Very recently actually we had the opportunity of meeting one visitor, just a visitor. And she said she came from, she actually lived in the East Coast in Rhode Island. Now she has moved since a few years in Sacramento. And she is a Sacramentan, but got married or whatever it may be. In that way, she lived there in the East Coast. Then she did not know anything about it, just was curious and came to me and said that, well, what do you do here? What you do? She came for some other purpose, so she asked me, what do you do here? Then we are what is called Vedantis, that means we are mostly in the philosophy of Hinduism. And we preach these things that are in our scriptures and also what our teachers have left, which we think will be very important and pertinent for this age. So I just gave a brief account that what I told you, and in that way he said that, well, does people understand this, what you say? Now, yes, in this country actually I think people have started understanding these things. So he was a little bit skeptic about that. Then I said that yes, probably I can, what is called, precisely make it a little precise that probably in the East Coast and West Coast people understand, but probably in the central part of the country they are still not really that much interested in, or they are not still ready. She actually smiled. So the point is that the usefulness, the point, the incarnationhood depends upon the certain things are there which are really makes incarnationhood very what is called acceptable or pertinent. So before that actually let me share something, because I have not seen Sri Ramakrishna and my teacher also has not seen Sri Ramakrishna, but teachers have seen Sri Ramakrishna. So it will be useful or it will be interesting to know about the persons who had seen physically, not spiritually I can understand, but physically seen Sri Ramakrishna and got the spiritual help or spiritual instructions in their lives. So what they have to say about Sri Ramakrishna. For example, Swami Vivekananda is one of them. I shall talk about what he has said or what is his, what he has to say about the incarnationhood in general. But definitely, it will be interesting to know those who lived with Sri Ramakrishna and those who have the opportunity of being instructed by him in the spiritual life, what they have to say. That means first-hand, if you call it. First-hand experience of Sri Ramakrishna and what they have to say. So, a few direct disciples of Sri Ramakrishna were there, and some of them during their conversation, actually, very few have said in an elaborate way of Sri Ramakrishna. In these 2 pages, actually, I could correct what they had said about Sri Ramakrishna. One is Swami Prapannananda. She has said Sri Ramakrishna is the avatar of this age, and he is helping every sincere and earnest aspirant. He is waiting for it. This is a very interesting way of saying about Sri Ramakrishna. Not only that, they lived with him and they lived in the society that actually in which they are brought up. So they are saying that, well, yes, Sri Ramakrishna is the avatar of this age. Avatar means, that means he is the greatest spiritual personality of this age. That I told you, avatar means incarnation and they are the greatest in spirituality. And not only that, he is waiting for it. That means probably an aspirant was there. That means all the things that he has done, his life, his teachings, and what he has left you to be done, all those things you can take together. You will be so pertinent, you will feel that these things were made for you, that means custom made for you. So he is waiting for you. Then another disciple has said, the manifestation of divine power we see in Sri Ramakrishna in this age is unique. There has not been such a manifestation in many centuries. The wave of spirituality will roll on unimpeded over all the world for a long time. This is actually the concept of what is called incarnationhood. They felt, that means it is not well versed in the scriptures and spirituality, they themselves did spiritual practices. And not only that, they had in their case people coming to them for spiritual knowledge. So their estimation, the point is that, well, they are so pertinent. Not only that they will be helpful, but they will remain pertinent for a long time. And this is actually concept of incarnationhood that is there. It is not exactly dumb faith that out of which they are saying this. That means out of their own experience they are saying these things. Then another is that Master is the crystallized embodiment of all gods and goddesses. That is also another aspect that we need to know. Gods and goddesses are a great concept of Indian spirituality. They are spiritual, crystallized spiritual forms. That means when you do not get any person or any guidance, so you conceive something which is great spiritual, and if it is really given a form of human being, because as a human being we can think of God as a human being. So all the good qualities of that we can conceive, if they are crystallized and just we can make a form, that will be gods and goddesses. In that way, it has come down. It is not that you have to make it, it is already available. In that way, you can choose and pick. It is like that. So it is a crystallized form. That means, as you saw, he was a crystallized embodiment of all gods and goddesses. So he practiced all the paths, and in that way he had the vision of different gods and goddesses. According to spirituality, you become one with the gods and goddesses when actually you come to the end of your spiritual practice. So it is, in another way, it is said that you become one. Of course, physically you don't become a god or goddess, but definitely in spiritual, mind merges into that form. So in that way, it becomes one. So it is another way it is saying that he was embodiment, or he got crystallized with these all gods and goddesses. So the point is this, that means if somebody is worshipping one form of God, in Hinduism there are different forms. Just take this example of Sri Ramakrishna. So he worshipped first Divine Mother Kali. So the point is that when he become one, that means when his mind become merged into that, actually all the not exactly qualities but spiritual knowledge or spiritual content that Mother Kali actually conceived of, Mother Kali is conceived of these qualities, all those things actually became one with him. So in another way actually you will see that he became a representative of Mother Kali. You can see, it is difficult to conceive, but you will see that some disciples saw that Sri Ramakrishna looks like, or they had a feeling that he is like Mother Kali, or what is called Lord Shiva, or like Krishna, or Rama. If you read, out of that innocent way of seeing, they have felt like that. The point is that it is a matter of spiritual, what is called attainment that he had. So in that way it has been said, it does not matter if you cannot meditate upon the master, what is called, somebody was thinking of what is called worshipping Divine Mother, meditating on Divine Mother. So he was not successful. So to him, one of the direct disciples is saying, the Master is the crystallized embodiment of all gods and goddesses. All the divine manifestations that have been in the past and will be in the future are within the Master. So this is a question that we actually were devotees, so probably this great Swami is saying we shall just submit and say that, well, you have said that it is accepted. But how actually? That means we have to convince ourselves. Convincing means, that means because he had done so much spiritual practice, and that is this content is there. So naturally when we worship him, we'll find that they are manifesting him. So if somebody worships Ramakrishna, yesterday one lady was asking me, well, can I worship Rama or Krishna like them? Well, yes, you can do that. Because the point is that it is possible to see the qualities of Rama and Krishna in Sri Ramakrishna also. So it will not be difficult for a person to worship Sri Ramakrishna in whatever way they want. That is another great advantage of Sri Ramakrishna. Swami Shivananda, one of the direct disciples of Sri Ramakrishna, he became a great teacher, and naturally he used to give spiritual instructions. So one devotee came and said that, well, sir, I want to have initiation from you. So initiation, okay, it will be all right. But you do one thing, that means you try to find out which god and goddesses, because you have to have some inclination to some form of gods and goddesses. So you first find out whom actually you want to worship. Then actually I can give some related mantra or whatever it may be, or I can direct you, because all those things have been taught or he has acquired from Sri Ramakrishna's lineage. So he said, then actually he said that, well, if you cannot find out whom actually you like among this, what is called so many gods and goddesses, just worship Sri Ramakrishna, that will be enough for you. So in that way he said, the point is that probably you will say that he wanted to make him a devotee of Sri Ramakrishna, but it is not like that. It is like this, that you will find all the aspects of gods and goddesses in Sri Ramakrishna if you do spiritual practice. That is another aspect of a peculiarity, or what is called another uniqueness of Sri Ramakrishna of this age, which is very important. I am not saying about Jesus Christ and Buddha, they say about these gods and goddesses. So then there is another saying, it is to save sinners and afflicted that the Master incarnated. That is another aspect is there for all incarnations. It is not that only Sri Ramakrishna did that or doing that. All the incarnations, it is a sort of scavenging. That means they are scavengers also. That means all the darts they will have to clean. In that way they clean what is called the world. That means they are all the sinners and who are really not acceptable. That means if you go to a church or place, actually they will first see how actually your background is there. So probably they will say, oh, others will say, oh, such a person has come. Probably they will not like to sit with that person also. So this type of conflict will be there. But these incarnations of God are such that anybody who is interested in spirituality, they are acceptable. That means that is their duty, as if that is for that purpose actually they come. Otherwise, there is no way that those persons will be saved, if you call it. That means they will get spirituality. So in case of Sri Ramakrishna, there are what is called instances, and also he left that legacy, and that is also being done. I once heard that we have one precedent. That means after Sri Ramakrishna, Swami Vivekananda established this order, that means in a systematic way according to law of the country, mission and mount and all those things, trust and what is called religious trust and all those things. So naturally office bearers and all those things were there, their president, vice presidents, then secretary, and then trustees and all those things. So the head, spiritual head, is the president of the order. So the president of the order has what is called, he is given the responsibility, or he takes the responsibility of giving spiritual instructions to those who come to him. So the point is that once actually one busload of prisoners came for spiritual instruction. So can you imagine that such a situation will come and that a spiritual person actually will like to do anything for them? So he said, yes, I'm ready. So let them come. And then he gave instructions. And probably within that, what is called, in that company, probably there must have been some light, what is called, prisoners who are in light imprisonment also. But the point is that once this desire has come, and if they approach this type of person or the legacy that has been left, Sri Ramakrishna must have left this legacy that anybody who will come to me for spiritual knowledge, he will have to have access to that legacy that I have left. It is not the choice of the person who will select and give his what is called spiritual knowledge. It is he has left, and it is available for generations. And in that way, actually, it continues, and that is the what is called incarnationhood. That means incarnation's legacy remains for thousands of years. Now, the others also have said, the master descended in disguise as an unlettered man in order to reveal the path of peace. He incarnated in order to smash the pride of scholarship also. That also is another thing. We think that Sri Ramakrishna himself has said that people generally think that you have to read so many books, so many literature, so many what is called commentaries and all those things to reach God. So he said that is a foolish thing. That means somehow or other you do spiritual practice and reach the goal. That is the most practical thing. So he said he came as an unlettered person. In case of Jesus Christ, he was of course more or less unlettered. And Lord Buddha, of course, he was a knowledgeable person. That means he was a prince and he had undergone other schools and other things. And in case of Krishna, we see that Krishna had to go. That means because his parents actually sent him to school, but he was not a good student. That means he somehow managed. And of course, in case of Rama, he was a prince, so naturally he had to go to great teachers. That means Vasishtha and others actually taught him. So in this way, we see that in some cases, in the incarnations had the opportunity of going through what is called scholarly pursuit. But Sri Ramakrishna, though there was a great opportunity of learning, that means he lived in Calcutta, and there are great scholars during his time. He had friendship with many great scholars, but hardly had the inclination to study anything. So he just heard them. That means he knew spirituality, so whenever spiritual words or spiritual teachings were there, he could pick up and could understand what is called the inner meaning of those teachings that scholars actually try to understand. So all those things were at his, what is called in his palm, as it is called. So he actually, one of the direct disciples have said, Master descended in disguise as an unlettered person in order to reveal the path of peace. He incarnated in order to smash the pride of scholarship. That means those who came amongst them, all sorts of Swami Vivekananda was a great scholar, great learned person. But you can see Swami Adbhutananda, he could not write his name also. So in that way, both are same. That means they are of the same category from the point of view of spirituality. Then, those who profess to be the children of the Master must have yoga, bhakti, karma, jnana, everything. That is Swami Turiyananda. Turiyananda, you know, was a good representation of ordinary Sikha, because he is not considered to be an Ishwarkoti. Ishwarkoti means as they are very privileged persons who came with the incarnation of God. That means it is that Sri Ramakrishna himself has said. But he does not fall into that category. By his own spiritual practices, with the help of his guru, we can say Sri Ramakrishna's guidance, actually he became a realized person. And not only that, he actually kept that spirit of doing spiritual practice. That throughout his life, the hard spiritual practice he did, and in that way he recommended also that you have to do spiritual practice to attain what is called the highest, to attain to the highest realization. For others, there are blessings, there are other things, but for him actually, he himself did that, and also he recommended that for ordinary persons. So he has said, those who profess to be the children of the Master must have yoga. Yoga means Patanjali yoga that we just finished studying. So that type of yoga, that means meditation and other things. Bhakti, that means devotion. Karma, that means karma yoga, and also jnana. Everything. So if there is another, these are the four cardinal paths of spiritual practice that has come down to us since Lord Krishna's time. So, for Sri Ramakrishna stands for the synthesis and harmony of all religious paths. So, why actually? If we really do not practice this, we shall be one-sided. That is the difficulty. And one-sidedness is a bent to this age. We cannot do that. That means you have to be open-minded, but at the same time, open-minded in a sense that if somebody is doing some spiritual practice, you have to not only tolerate, you have to accept that. Though you may not be following the path that person is following. You follow your path, but at the same time you have to understand that that person is also seeking God or trying to be spiritual in his own way. And without this knowledge of four paths, it is difficult to appreciate that. So that he is pointing out. For Sri Ramakrishna stands for the synthesis and harmony of all religious paths. The spiritual growth of a person following a particular line was a rule in the past. So he was very particular. Why? In previous ages, somebody followed Rama, somebody followed Krishna, that is fine. But you see the result after 100 years or 200 years, people become one-sided. They started fighting with each other. Even if you go to South India, you will find there are still quarrels between those who are following Lord Shiva and those who are following Lord Krishna. That is still there. That means it is outwardly you will not see, but in their what is called in their dealings and other things, you will find that there is the differences. And I have seen these things are still there in other parts of India, but things are coming up. That means those who understand, they are taking refuge or they are really appreciating Sri Ramakrishna's teaching, and in that way they are following that. So this is very important. He is saying the spiritual growth of a person following a particular line was a rule of the past. But now one should have an all-round development combined with a magnanimity of heart to tolerate others. That is Swami Turiyananda, because he had exposure in this country also. He was a staunch Brahmin. That means he was such a staunch Brahmin, and not only that, he was such a staunch practitioner of scriptural instructions that sometimes he did not go to meet Sri Ramakrishna also. That means he thought that is a wastage of time. But later on, things changed. That means when he came in contact with Sri Ramakrishna, he understood what Sri Ramakrishna was really teaching. So these are the ways in which actually the teachers have said. Let me share a few more. A holy man is full of compassion. About Sri Ramakrishna, I heard that he was one day walking over a lawn. He once turned back to find the grass over which he had trodden were trying to raise their heads again with difficulty. This made him weep, and he said, "Alas, these two are sentient, these two are suffering greatly." From that day on, he could not walk on lawn. So the feeling, that means we cut, not only walk, we cut also grass. We don't mind, we need to cut. Our lawn has become what is called the grass has become tall. But in case of Sri Ramakrishna, that type of feeling, oneness, that is the point. That type of oneness actually are unique. So that means, of course, probably in the case of others, incarnations were there, but he explicitly felt that, and also others saw that he actually did feel that. So in that way, oneness actually is great teaching that he has left for us. Most of Sri Ramakrishna's direct disciples have seen him after his disappearance from mortal view, and if you have a real longing to see him, he is sure to satisfy you. God's forms are not allegorical, they are real. The point is that direct disciples physically saw Sri Ramakrishna. Then Sri Ramakrishna passed away and they lived. Then actually their meditation or there are certain encounters or situations when actually they have a vision of Sri Ramakrishna. That verifies that Sri Ramakrishna is really perceptible, or we can have the vision of Sri Ramakrishna even after his passing away. One incident is coming to my mind is that, in Detroit, when Swami Vivekananda was there, went to meet a person, and that person was not really very what is called appreciative of Swami Vivekananda's ideas, or maybe Hinduism, if you call it. So, and not only that, he actually wanted to harm him in a way. That means Swami Vivekananda liked a cup of coffee, so the coffee was given, and actually in that some poison was mixed. He wanted to harm him. And at that time, when he was just going to take a sip, Sri Ramakrishna appeared and said that don't drink that. So in that way, actually, he was saved. So this is just one incident. The point is that in that way, after the passing away, Sri Ramakrishna, direct disciples have seen, and in that way, it is possible to have the vision of Sri Ramakrishna. Even today, that is the that direct disciple wants to say. Then Sri Ramakrishna was averse to all negative ideas. He would say, if a man boldly says that there is no poison, even the poison of a snake bite disappears. So the point is that Swami Vivekananda also used to say, suppose you have a fever. If you say strongly that if I do not have fever, strongly, then actually you will see that ultimately fever will go away. Actually that is the belief of a Christian scientist also. That means you have to boldly say that you are not sick and whatever may be happen. But in all cases it is not successful, but still that belief is there. So these are the sayings that direct disciples have said. Let me share one or two. One by Holy Mother Sarada Devi, because she was an attendant. That means she took care of Sri Ramakrishna for a long time. So she says, really and truly Sri Ramakrishna was God himself. He assumed this human body to remove the sorrows and sufferings of others. He moved about in disguise as a king walks through his city. He disappeared the moment he became known. As you know, Sri Ramakrishna trained Holy Mother Sarada Devi, saying that, well, I am not able to live for a long time because my body is not really made for that purpose. So I shall go away. But people are suffering. He used to say, pointing out to Kolkata, that means people are suffering just like worms. Not only human beings, just like worms. That means they do not know how to grow with their sufferings. So he said that you have to do something for them. That means I am leaving this legacy with you, and those who will come for succor, just help them. So in that way, Holy Mother was the successor of spiritual knowledge that Sri Ramakrishna actually attained through his intense spiritual practice. So that suffering, that means he could not really, he assumed the human body to remove the sorrows and sufferings for others. That is the purpose that incarnations really come. Then finally I would like to share what is the utility, how actually we can utilize incarnations of God in our lives. That logically Swami Vivekananda has said. In Bhakti Yoga and in few other places, great teachers of the world, you will find that he has explained this thing, the utility of incarnations of God for us, that means for the seekers. Higher and nobler than ordinary ones are another set of teachers, the avatars of Ishvara in the world. He is saying in the context of the different categories of spiritual personalities that I told you at the beginning. That means there is these seekers are there, jivakotis as we call, that means those who have attained to highest by their own effort. Then there is the ishvakotis, those who come with our incarnations of God, that means apostles. And then further, higher is the avatara or incarnation of God. So he is saying they are the teachers, that means those who are seeking, they share their knowledge, so naturally they are mutual teachers. And those who have attained knowledge, so naturally they are automatically teachers because they share their knowledge. In that way, all of them can become teacher. But he is saying there is another set of teachers, the avatars or Ishvara in the world. They can transmit spirituality with a touch, even with a mere wish. That is one of the signs, if you call it. If you go through the lives of this type of persons, you will see that they have cured sick persons. That means they wished and the sick person actually, what is called, got cured. In Jesus Christ's life, you see, Buddha's life, you will see. In Sri Ramakrishna's case, not too many, but one or two can be found out if you dig deep. And in that way, that is one of the, by mere wish actually they can transmit power. So The lowest and the most degraded characters become in 1 second saints at their command. They are the teachers of all teachers, the highest manifestations of God through man. We cannot see God except through them. This is the most important part. That means you can think of God, Swami Vivekananda has elaborated in many ways, but anything that you do not know how actually you can think of. It is not possible to think of God by your what is called imagination. It is not possible. It is possible only if we really think of God through these type of persons, because they embody all the spirituality within themselves, which actually we are trying to conceive. So that is the importance of the incarnations. So he is saying, we cannot see God except through them. Our all imaginations will fail to think of God if we compare the lives of these incarnations. So they embody all the good qualities or the high spiritual qualities that are really conceivable. We cannot help worshipping them, and indeed they are the only ones whom we are bound to worship. Ultimately, if one wants to grow in spirituality, ultimately they will have to take the help of these incarnations. That is Swami Vivekananda is saying. So in this way, in many places, Swami Vivekananda has said that what is the utility? Those who are sincere seekers, naturally they will be what is called just like Ramakrishna, they will be panting for what is called some knowledge or some what is called some help. In that way, they should be very sincere. So naturally, whatever comes, they will try. Whatever somebody says, they will try. In that way, they go. So ultimately, we shall see that these incarnations, those who are really saviors of the world, if we take refuge in them, actually we can grow. They are the last point of our spiritual growth. So in that way, we see incarnations of God have come to the world. Many of them have come, and many of them will come. That is also Swami Vivekananda has said. That means we should not keep the book closed. We shall keep our mind and book open. That means those will come. Swami Vivekananda in advance actually has paid respect to them. That means I pay respect to them also, those who will come in future. What to say about those who have come in the past. So for our purposes, the utility of these incarnations is that we need to follow them. And in that way, actually, if you want to have spiritual growth, they are the cardinal persons who actually can guide us to our goal.